Mosaic, a daily news program from Link TV, presents a selection of news reports from independent and state-controlled broadcasters from throughout the Middle East.
His Highness Sayyid Fahad bin Mahmoud Al Saeed, Deputy Prime Minister for the Council of Ministers, performed the Eid al Fitr prayer in Al Khor Mosque in Muscat. It was also performed along with him by a number of their Highnesses, members of the royal family, their excellencies, the ministers and distinguished personalities in the state. The prayer was led by His Eminence Sheikh Ahmed bin Hamad Al Khalili, Grand Mufti of the Sultanate. His Eminence also delivered the Eid ceremony in which he supplicated the Almighty and said that fasting is the most effective worshipping on the soul of the person who is fasting and linked to the fasting with the fear of God. In Gaza, Palestinian leader Mahmoud Abbas today demanded an end to clashes and appealed for a calm following a wave of deadly Israeli-Palestinian violence. Abbas said he hoped the border crossing between the Gaza Strip and Egypt would reopen soon and congratulated the Palestinian people on the Eid, which marks the end of the holy fasting month of Ramadan. The Rafah crossing, the only exit from Gaza that bypassed Israel, was closed on September 7th ahead of Israel's pullout from the territory 5 days later after nearly 4 decades of occupation. Meanwhile, an Israeli soldier was lightly wounded today when Palestinian militants in the Gaza Strait fired a mortar shell into southern Israel. The attack came shortly after a 12-year-old Palestinian stone thrower was seriously wounded by Israeli gunfire during clashes with militants in Jenin after army jeeps moved into the West Bank city. Gun battles between Israeli troops and gunmen from Palestine flared after more than 30 army jeeps moved into Jenin, shadowed by the helicopters. At least 2 people were shot dead and 8 wounded in the Ethiopian capital today when police have opened fire amid civil unrest on the 3rd day of deadly street battles in the capital. At least 35 people died in similar circumstances on Tuesday and yesterday. Many of the clashes yesterday broke out when police deployed in several districts to arrest leaders of the main opposition party, the Coalition for Unity and Democracy, which has become increasingly vocal in its claims that elections held in May were rigged against it. Meanwhile, United Nations Secretary General Kofi Annan expressed extreme concern at reports that Ethiopia and Eritrea were moving troops, armor and air defense equipment closer to a buffer zone that was established after a 2.5-year war over their still disputed border. He urged both countries to exercise maximum restraint and to put an immediate halt to any actions that might be misinterpreted by the other side. Amani Abeid Karume was sworn in as president of Zanzibar yesterday after his re-election in polls marked by violence. He was sworn in at the ceremony attended by diplomats and President Benjamin Mkapa of the United Republic of Tanzania, of which Zanzibar is a semi-autonomous offshore state. At least 1 person was killed and around 50 injured in clashes related to Sunday's election between security forces and the opposition Civic United Front, CUF. Officials' results released on Tuesday by Zanzibar Electoral Commission gave Karume, who heads the Revolutionary Party CCM and has been in power for more than 40 years, 53.2% of the vote against 46.1% for the CUF's Saif Sharif Hamad.
Yusuf Ahmed, the Syrian ambassador to Egypt and permanent envoy to the Arab League, denied some media reports that his country called for an emergency Arab summit to discuss the repercussions of UN Resolution 1636. The resolution calls on Syria to fully cooperate with the International Investigation Committee regarding the assassination probe of former Lebanese Prime Minister Rafik al-Hariri. The Syrian Foreign Minister Farouk al-Shara criticized the UN resolution. Meanwhile, Syrians continued to hold sit-ins and demonstrations to protest the UN resolution and the Malice report.
The echoes of UN Resolution 1636 against Syria were not usual, especially because it emerged from Article 7 of the United Nations. This caused panic among Syrians who took to the streets of Damascus and to the gates of the Arab and foreign embassies, holding sit-ins and protests around the clock. Demonstrators waved Syrian flags and carried banners with sarcastic cartoons criticizing this fabricated UN resolution. This comes as Muslims are getting ready to celebrate Eid al Fitr.
We are here to hold sit-ins and protests in front of the American embassy and other embassies, hoping that our message will be heard.
Today
we would like to tell the world, enough is enough. Enough attacks, fabrications and setups. This is all I want to say.
These massive protests show that the Syrians are standing in solidarity with their government. Political observers say that the Syrian government must strengthen domestic support by adopting flexible internal policies to create strong fronts to resist the international attack without ignoring the importance of diplomatic means.
Definitely the government can only depend on its people. It's where the real power of any government comes from. Throughout history, we have seen that the people are the ones who defend their homeland and nationhood. Governments can't do it without the strong support of the people. The Syrian government only has two possible channels of maneuvering. The first one is by mobilizing Arab support, and the second one is to mobilize internal support and strengthen it.
The Syrian government has taken several steps to rearrange the internal front to prevent international threats from destabilizing the country, though these steps came late.
While the Syrian government has to exert diplomatic and political efforts at the international level, it must also realize that it is even more important to strengthen the domestic front. Recently, Syria has taken several steps to achieve that end.
The UN resolution was weakened by the opposition of Arab countries who understand the dangerous political game against Syria, and by friendly countries that are trying to maintain the current balance of power. The ball is now in Syria's court, and they are expected to demonstrate better political skills. Syria now is betting on these large crowds, who are seen as the guaranteed ticket that will protect from the winds of change and international pressure. Farah Shiham, Nile News Channel, Damascus.
Dr. Ahmed Chalabi, head of the Iraqi National Congress, confirmed that he would form a national unity government if he should win the upcoming parliamentary elections. In a press conference that Chalabi held to launch his election campaign, he said that his political platform is clear and practical for the sake of unifying national Iraqi forces to establish security, stability, and economic growth, and to strengthen individual freedoms. In the framework of the ongoing parliamentary elections campaigns, Dr. Ahmed Chalabi, head of the Iraqi National Congress, held a press conference to announce his elections list.
Those who join this list will work to gain Iraqi sovereignty and fight administrative corruption and terrorism. Our political platform is clear and practical, with the aim of forming a united national Iraqi government, which we hope will unite Iraqi political forces and bring stability, security, economic growth, and individual freedoms. We reiterate our complete commitment to the religious authority. May God protect them.
Dr. Chalabi expressed hope that the country will adopt free market principles for marketing oil and called for establishing a new real estate agency that would solve the problem of housing shortages.
Every Iraqi family must have a home, which will be achieved by distributing land to house Iraqi citizens and their families.
At the end of the press conference, the names of Iraqi National Congress candidates were announced to give the voters and other parties the opportunity to know them. Eid al Fitr, Iraqiya Channel, Baghdad.
In Iraq, the Higher Election Committee announced the beginning of election campaigns until the 14th of December, one day before people cast their votes. 21 coalitions and dozens of other parties will compete in the upcoming elections. After the approval of the Iraqi draft constitution, the Sunni Arabs confirmed that they will run in the upcoming election under a special list, which includes a number of coalitions and other alliances.
Iraqi parties and groups are competing in the upcoming elections of the National Assembly. Iraqis will make history by picking a permanent legislative body that will rebuild the country. These will be special elections because it is the first under the new constitution which was approved in the referendum. Moreover, it will be a very competitive one because many Iraqi groups and factions will participate in it. They will take part in reshaping the political situation in the land of the two rivers. 221 parties and associations will compete in the upcoming elections. Some parties joined forces with other groups to form bigger alliances. The total number of coalitions is 21. The decision was made to use simple words and numbers to make it easier for the average Iraqis to cast their votes. The number 555 or 3 fives was given to the coalition of Al-Ja'fari, Al-Sadr and Al-Hakim. Currently, this coalition has the majority of representatives in the parliament. The number 651 was given to Ahmed Chalabi, who formed his own alliance and was supported by Muqtada al-Sadr. Mr. Chalabi is bidding on winning the majority of votes and thus controlling the government. 579 was given to the United Kurdish Alliance, the second biggest bloc in the parliament. 802 was given to the Iraqi National Coalition led by Jalal Allawi, who is bidding on coming back to power as a head of the government. Mr. Allawi joined forces with other liberal parties. 774 was given to the Iraqi National List, which is a coalition of the Sunni Arabs led by Salih Mutlaq. The other Sunni bloc is the Iraqi Reconciliation Front. Some groups of this Sunni bloc, such as the Iraqi Islamic Party, took part in the referendum on the draft constitution. Moreover, the Higher Religious Council led by Mr. al-Sistani will compete with other parties and coalitions. Mr. al-Sistani supported the alliance in the previous elections. The Iraqi Elections Authority put lots of restrictions and guidelines on the upcoming elections, thus enhancing the Iraqi national unity and alleviating the level of internal conflicts among different parties and groups. They also announced the beginning of elections campaigns, prohibiting candidates from using government offices and facilities for promoting their campaigns.
The international community needs to deal firmly with Iran over its secret nuclear weapons program. That's the view of Italian Foreign Minister Gianfranco Fini. His comments came after Iran summoned the Italian ambassador to Iran to explain why Italian officials took part in a pro-Israel demonstration today outside the Iranian embassy in Rome. The rally was called to protest remarks made last week by Iran's president calling for Israel to be wiped off the map. Meanwhile, several hundred protesters gathered in Paris last night in a show of solidarity with Israel and to condemn Iran. The crowds chanted, "Iran, Iran, last warning," and cheered as a French parliamentarian declared the Iranian president guilty of intolerable aggression and urged support for Iranian resistance movements. Members of the French Jewish community called on the free world to unite against the hardline Islamic State.
I think that Iran is a country which wants to destroy the other countries, which wants to destroy the Western civilization. And so the people who are working for Iran are not diplomats, they are soldiers, and they are like terrorists, and that is the point.
I think if we, before the war, would been in front of the German embassy, maybe the Shoah would not be existed, and my sister wouldn't be in the Auschwitz. But right now, I don't want to live a second Shoah at my age, and I think what's going on here in France should go on the whole world.
UN Special Envoy Terry Larson said he has been unable to determine if all Syrian intelligence agents have been withdrawn from Lebanon as called for by Security Council Resolution 1559. Larson also told the 15 council members that nothing had been done to stop the flow of illegal weapons from Syria to terrorist groups in Lebanon. Syria's ambassador denied the charges.
Of course, the government of Syria is stating that these arms are smuggled illegally across the border, and that the border is very difficult to control. However, it remains apparently a joint opinion on both sides of the border that there has been a significantly increased flow of arms, particularly to Palestinian groups in Lebanon, and particularly to groups which are Damascus-based.
We think that any flows of this kind, which are unknown to the Syrian government, do not help, and we shall stop all of them. We are stopping all of them. Of course, sometimes they are exaggerated by the Lebanese press and other players.
While Thursday, November the 3rd, marked for many Arab countries the Muslim feast of Eid al Fitr, people in Iran will celebrate the event on Friday. Eid al Fitr is the biggest Islamic feast for Muslims across the world, and in Tehran, people will attend the Fitr prayers at Imam Khomeini Grand Prayer Site tomorrow morning, which will be led by leader of the Islamic Revolution, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Many regret to see Ramadan go away while waiting to embrace the holy month next year again. Well, I would like to congratulate you all on this auspicious occasion, both on behalf of myself and my colleagues at JN English Newsroom. University students in Tehran gathered in front of the Italian embassy Thursday to protest against the Italian foreign minister's anti-Iran remarks. The students voiced their anger against the Zionist regime's crimes in the occupied Palestine and called on the Israeli forces to withdraw from Palestine. Gianfranco Fini, in a joint press conference with his Israeli counterpart Silvan Shalom, had called for Iran's nuclear case to be referred to the Security Council. Paris says it will take the opportunity at the November 24th UN nuclear watchdog session to call on Tehran to stop uranium enrichment at the Isfahan conversion facility. French Foreign Minister Philippe Douste-Blazy said that Thursday at the French Senate and added, if Iran opposes fresh proposals of the European states, its case, along with the report of the IAEA chief Mohammad Abradi, will be referred to the UN Security Council. This is while Tehran has underlined its legitimate right to nuclear fuel cycle based on domestic potentials. Israel's Defense Minister Shaul Mofaz told reporters in Washington on Thursday that Iran is the main threat to the Zionist regime.
Surface missiles and a high desire to achieve nuclear power. This is the main threat against the state of Israel for the long run, and not only against the state of Israel, it is a threat against the Western countries.
This comes as the Zionist regime's UN ambassador, Dan Gilliman, told the BBC Iran does not have the least of the right to the nuclear know-how. Reacting to the question that Iran has signed a non-proliferation treaty, but the Zionist regime has refused to do so, Gilliman said the Zionist regime has not signed the NPT due to a logical reason. Iranian envoy to the Human Rights Committee at the UN General Assembly, Mustafa Aloi, offered a package of documents implicating Canada to violate human rights. Aloi said discriminatory behavior of Canadian police and abduction of over 580 women in the country serve as proofs to the breach. He also called on the Canadian judiciary for further probe into the death of an Iranian national in Canada, Kayvan Tabish. Time now for a quick look at some of the news in brief. Iran handed over to Pakistani government all equipment supposed to be placed in an Iranian field hospital at quake-ravaged Pakistan. The hospital is equipped with operation room, radiology units, emergency and recovery room, and pharmacy. Iran also on Thursday handed over 11 donated ambulances to Pakistan.
Welcome to Abu Dhabi News. Happy holidays. Muslims in the East and the West are celebrating the first days of the blessed Eid al Fitr, or the feast holiday, in which God has bestowed goodness, calm, and peace on the Islamic nations. The Eid celebration was seen in many countries, however, it was absent from different areas in Iraq as a result of the current situation.
On the first day of the blessed Eid al Fitr in Iraq, one can see that people are taking precautions everywhere amidst prayers that the country be calm and secure. However, these precautions did not prevent people from attending the Eid prayers, as was done in Abu Hanifa and Nu'mani Mosque in Al-Qazimiyya area in Baghdad, where during the Eid sermon, the Imam called on the Iraqi government to have mercy on its citizens.
We appeal to our local government to be merciful. We call for them to be humanitarian, irregardless of religion or anything else. Be compassionate, we are humans. Why is there misery and sadness in the hearts of mothers and children, in addition to the young girls and women who have become widows at the beginning of their lives?
The current situation strongly has impacted the sensibilities of the Iraqis. The joy of the Eid, witnessed throughout the Islamic world, seemed to be absent in Iraq because of what the country is going through.
We don't have any feelings about Eid in Iraq because Iraq is wounded and occupied. We say to all noble Muslims, happy holidays, and we say to all noble Iraqis, happy holidays. We send our greetings to all the prisoners in the American and local prisons. Happy holidays to you.
Now we head to the blessed Eid celebrations in Egypt, where it is naturally crowded most of the time. Hundreds of thousands of Egyptian men, women and children offered their Eid prayers in the Mustafa Mahmoud Mosque and the surrounding areas in Cairo. The security forces were deployed to guarantee security and calm.
Happy holidays. We will pray the Eid prayer. Then we are going home with the children and having breakfast. Happy holidays. Happy Eid for all Muslims.
The blessed Eid al Fitr is an occasion for great joy, prayers and celebrations as in Malaysia and the Islamic world. They attended the Eid prayers and sermon, then they celebrate the Eid day with their loved ones. The President of Afghanistan, Hamid Karzai, greets his constituents in Eid al Fitr. He stressed his empathy toward the victims of the earthquake which recently hit areas of Pakistan and India. In an atmosphere of calm in the Afghani capital of Kabul, the residents of the city also celebrated this blessed Eid al Fitr. What is most notable is the joy of the Afghani children playing. The celebrations of Eid al Fitr began in the evening in Indonesia with major crowds of people in the capital city of Jakarta, which continued until the morning. The Indonesian Muslims offered Eid prayers like all other Muslims throughout the world, with hope for a happy Eid al Fitr with peace and love for all people.
For the first time in 38 years, Palestinians in the Gaza Strip celebrated Eid al Fitr without an Israeli presence on the ground. However, the feeling of anxiety continues to be cast over the Eid atmosphere after a wave of Israeli escalations in the West Bank and Gaza.
It is true that Eid al Fitr this year is different from previous years for the Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip, where the Israeli forces have withdrawn. It is also true that the people have different Eid customs than in any other place. The Eid is an occasion to think about the absent loved ones who have died and those who remain behind bars. The Eid celebrations began with carrying out the religious customs amidst an Israeli escalation campaign in the West Bank and in the Gaza Strip that included targeted killings and mass arrests. The Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas offered Eid prayers at his presidential headquarters in Gaza. Then he placed flowers at the grave of the unknown soldier. He appeared optimistic about the next phase to come.
First, the situation needs to remain calm and the clashes here and there must end. After that, things will be better, God willing. We are hoping for good and that the Rafah crossing will be open soon, God willing. As you heard in news reports, it will be a window for the people of Gaza to the rest of the world.
من قطاع غزة إلى كل أنحاء العالم.
أجواء عيد الفطر السعيد هذا العام وإن تحسنت قليلا. The most important thing that Palestinians do in the Eid is visit their immediate family. This Eid, the Palestinian public feelings was that of happiness mixed with pain and hope for a better future.
وأمل بمستقبل أفضل.
We must celebrate as Muslims no matter what happens, God willing. We will not lose the happiness of Eid as Muslims, regardless of the tragic events in Palestine and the Islamic world, such as the earthquake in Pakistan, Iraq, and here in Palestine, where the Israelis attempt to dampen our feelings despite their fake withdrawal.
Eid is different than any other year because of the withdrawal of the Israeli occupation, even if the withdrawal was not complete because of its control of the land crossings, the sea, and the air. We hope that next Eid, things will be better. We will have freedom of movement. The most important thing is the freedom to work.
The children expressed the most happiness during Eid. They went out to the amusement parks and expressed their feelings by comparing this Eid's experience to previous years.
This Eid, the kids are all unified and are enjoying the Eid atmosphere. During other Eid celebrations, the children were afraid and everyone was staying at home. They were afraid of the Jews, the bombing raids, and the assassinations that always happen because the Jews always try to dampen our Eid. Thank God, I hope that every Eid is like this one.
This Eid was relatively better than previous ones, for the general atmosphere is dominated with sadness and anxiety. It appears that happiness can only be seen on the faces of children.
One of the beautiful examples of solidarity during Ramadan was presented to us by the Algerian female students who live in dormitories of the new university in Dali Ibrahim. They held a competition for making sweets to cheer up their colleagues from the south because it is difficult for them to visit their families during the Eid al Fitr holiday. Abdul Alim Zaghish prepared the following report.
This kind gesture was initiated by female students who live in dormitories at the new university in Dali Ibrahim. They held a celebration to honor their female colleagues from the south by preparing many different kinds of desserts to share with them during the happiness of this holiday.
This is a new dormitory. It was built recently and they have not started preparing food yet. However, we tried to organize volunteers to prepare holiday sweets with the simple means that we have.
We tried to gather female students to help in making sweets for Eid al Fitr in order to bring the attention to the fact that some female students can't see their families during this Eid al Fitr. We put a lot of efforts to create family atmosphere in the university.
During Ramadan, these students prepared dinners every evening, listened to the radio station, and maintained festivities during the nights of Ramadan as a way to break the routine.
These activities are very good because it shows our unity, whether we are from the west, east, or the desert.
All of us are showing our solidarity with those who can't go home by making cake, with supportive words.
This initiative is to show our support for the students from the south who can't go home. We try to make them feel that they are among this family.
The Eid al Fitr holiday has its unique flavor among family members, but the female students from the south will still feel the warmth and happiness of the Eid at their university.
The views expressed on Mosaic are not those of Link TV or its sponsors, but of the broadcasters themselves. Mosaic is made possible by a grant from the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation, which promotes journalism excellence worldwide and invests in the vitality of 26 U.S. communities, and the William and Flora Hewlett Foundation. Additional support is provided by the Firedoll Foundation and Henry and Virgilia Dakin.